Hello and welcome back to another episode of Freedom from Ego. Have you ever been with people who have a very normal, logical human perspective on life and on things, but in certain situations there's just one or two of these things which makes you crazy. Like, why do they do these illogical, stupid things? Why do they say these stupid things? Why are they out of control in these certain situations? And why are they trying to tell you all this stupid stuff which you don't give a shit about? And it could be down to something which I've identified as ego drive. See, understanding ego drive is very important, because if you don't understand that, we can label people as something which they're not, and label them because we don't understand them. And so with ego drive, we'll get a better perspective as to why certain people basically behave in very illogical ways. So, what is ego drive? Well, basically, in every human interaction, people are trying to tell other people that they're interacting with a certain story about themselves. And in that story, they're trying to emphasize a certain thing. For example, if you were born in a household which was very poor, you could get very even though if you're very well off, you could do certain things which emphasize a certain sort of story about yourself, which says that, well, look, I worked hard and now I'm here. I worked hard and got this job. And that thing, that whole narrative that you're trying to construct, is basically to tell the other person that I am this thing, even though you don't know that you're saying that, or you have that narrative in your head, but unconsciously you do. Similarly, that other person has another perspective that they believe in, that other sort of worldview that they hold, and they want to tell you that perspective with every single thing that they're trying to tell you, and with every single interaction. They're just trying to construct that story of who they are in your head, because that is what best represents them and their life story. And so understanding each person's ego drive basically helps us to understand them better, and to understand that, okay, sometimes that story takes them to an illogical route, which is fine, because we do that too all the time. We just don't know. And so what is the method of understanding ego drive? Well, basically, if you come across a situation where a person is behaving a little illogically, a little weird, so what you can do to understand their ego drive is to understand the core assumption, the core story that they're trying to tell you with every single illogical thing that they're doing. So once you basically scope down or pinpoint a certain thing that they're trying to tell you, you can use this idea as a hypothesis. What you want to do is you can make a testable statement in your head. So what you're going to do is that you understand, you look at their behavior, and you're like, okay, this looks weird. And if it's a behavior which is constantly bugging you, you can sort of track down the sort of pattern that emerges from illogical behaviors in certain specific situations. And once you see that, you can devise a hypothesis from all the stories that you've understood by connecting the dots backward. Once you have a hypothesis, you can basically test that hypothesis with a new situation that comes, and if the outcome that you've predicted in your head coincides with that story, then your hypothesis is correct. So I want to tell you the story about my uncle, who is a really great man. He's a very generous person, and we were having a wedding party at my house, and he was like, do you want to come over and let's pick up some drinks? And because Pakistan is a dry country, we don't have alcohol or champagnes or anything, and so we stick to cold drinks and fizzy drinks, which is obviously much healthier. Drinks like this. And so we went to this shop which sells these cold drinks in bulk, and so we went to that guy, and what he was trying to do is he was trying to tell me that this 2.5 liter bottle of the drink is more practical compared to those little glass bottles that you give out in in these parties, and you can basically collect them and you can return them. And so there's not that added factor of cleaning the glasses and all this kind of stuff. And so he was trying to convince me that these bottles were more practical because people can just pour their own drinks and enjoy the party. And I was trying to convince him that no, that seems like a little bit of work, and we are the ones who have to clean up afterwards. And he couldn't understand that. But the interesting that I noticed was that he was always trying to, he had his phone open and he had this calculator app open on his phone, and he was trying to basically count the amount of bottles that there were in a crate, dividing them by the amount of money that he was spending for that one crate, and he was basically trying to get the best deal possible. And because in his head I devised at that moment, and it wasn't at that moment, I've devised that hypothesis from a lot of instances. And so what I was trying to understand was that he thinks that something is practical if it justifies the cost, and that's why he was crunching the numbers, and he was trying to get the best deal out of it. I in my shrewd sort of manipulation or whatever you call it, I whipped out my calculator and I looked at the glass bottles, and I was like, okay, I divided the liter and the amount of money we were spending per liter, and my numbers came lower. My option was cheaper. And so he, in his I don't know how logic works, but he was suddenly convinced that the glass bottles were cheaper, obviously more practical, because obviously you don't have to get the glasses cleaned or anything like that. Getting the bottles was his idea in the first place. And I was like, yeah, it was your idea. It was all the time, man. In another instance, I went to a market and I went to this bazaar and I bought this used Casio fully automatic watch. And he asked me, I showed it to him, he's a watch collector or something. So I showed it to him, oh look, this watch is amazing. And he asked me how much did you pay for it? And when I told him the amount of money, he was really pissed off. He was no, you paid too much, and it's you're stupid, man, you don't know how to bargain and this, that. So his sort of shtick was that I can get deals like nobody else, and I can get the same thing for cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And so that's his sort of thing. And with every single situation that comes when it comes to spending money, where other people are spending money, he has this weird illogical moments when he just goes crazy and bugs people about spending too much money, because in his head, according to my hypothesis, he's trying to tell himself that he is the one who gets the best deals. And so that is the the sort of framework of ego drive that I've understood from understanding him. In another situation that comes up in the future, I don't have to worry about him being unpredictable, because I know that whenever time comes, when it comes to spending money, he is going to make a fuss out of it, because in his head he tells himself that he is the one who gets the best deals. Obviously this is just one person that I've deconstructed, that I'm telling you here. Obviously there are a lot of people who I have hypothesized to make them more human, to understand them a little better, to understand their story that they're trying to tell me with every single thing that they do, and so that I don't judge them, so that whenever their time comes when they're illogical, I can understand them and I cannot judge them and be completely chill in my mind and not be a person who judges people. And so that's what I wanted to tell you in this episode of Freedom from Ego. I hope you implement this, and I'll see you very, very soon, next Monday, and see ya. Goodbye. Like and subscribe this channel for more content like this. It's gonna be more consistent, I promise.